friends, we wish to take this opportunity to welcome our President to the 8th Provincial Congress of KwaZulu-Natal. We have had a very long session, and I think we can all see the enthusiasm amongst the comrades. They've showed quite a lot of stamina. And comrades, we still have a long program ahead of us. We must thank the President, firstly for making time available to come and address this conference, but more so for adjusting his very busy program to be able to fit within this conference's program. Without further ado, we wish to indicate that this session will be open only for the President, for the President's address. There's a whole host of other conference matters that will pursue as soon as the President has concluded his address and the media has left us. Would like all the comrades at this point, if you can just switch off your cell phones. I'm not sure if the cell phone that I was hearing, even the journalists, please. But would like at this point, comrades, for you to rise and welcome the President of the African National Congress, the President of South Africa, President J.J. Zuma. Amanda! ANC, ANC.
Awethu Matla Yaruna all power Siyabonga Realbuga bayesu mangifuna ngikwitize ngakwitiza khona manje sengiyakwitiza. Well, as you know, comrades, firstly, I was supposed to be here at the beginning of the conference, but I was not able to be there. Partly because I was in Mpumalanga, in an area called Bushbuck Ridge. We had thought it will be very short and then I will come. And last night it was impossible because by the time we left that place it was dark already. And then I said, okay, if the meeting has started, the conference, no need, because the leaders are here. And indeed the leaders were here. I think the national chairperson said something at the beginning. Now I'm saying this because my notes might be like opening the conference. Now if you open the conference, you use certain terminology. Now I'm told my notes are outdated. I tried to ask the DSG, what has happened to the peace? He said, no, it has been dissolved. Is that so? Yes. Now I still have the chair here, the secretary. Sorry. What must I do? So that's what I was saying. But nevertheless, It's not a problem. I usually adapt quickly to the current situation. Members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC were here. The outgoing Provincial Executive Committee, which was led by Comrade Senzo as the chair and Comrade Zigalala as the secretary. Leaders of our alliance from the South African Communist Party, COSATU, and SANCO. Veterans of our struggle. Members of the regional executive committees, distinguished guests, comrade delegates to this provincial conference, please receive my revolutionary greetings on behalf of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. Comrades, we meet just a few days after we commemorated the life and times of our exemplary stalwart, Isitwalandwe, Comrade President Oliver Reginald Tambo. We indeed lost before his time this symbol of the unity of our movement, the alliance, and all our people. President Tambo was indeed the glue which held our movement together under difficult conditions of illegality and relentless persecution of our people. He was a true champion of unity and spared no rebuke towards any unbecoming tendency aimed at sowing divisions. He understood that divisions inevitably weaken and undermine the effective functioning of the organization, and therefore can only further the ends of those opposed to the objectives of our revolution. About just over a week ago, I was deployed to give a lecture on OR in the Eastern Cape, Port Elizabeth, now popularly known as Nelson Mandela Metro. And I talked about OR and the characteristics that distinguished OR from other leaders, whether leaders in the ANC or outside of the ANC. I also had an opportunity to be asked to say a few words on his birthday in Eguruleni, where he's resting. Also remembered him as a leader. But when I was in Port Elizabeth, after talking about him, I asked the question, do we still have cadres like Tambo? It was a rhetorical question, not a question that needed an answer. Just for me to drive the point home that there are now very few, if they are still there, who could be dedicated like him. I remembered when I was in Eguruleni that one day we were complaining about his hard work, not sleeping, and he was no longer very healthy. He had got some mild stroke, and we were trying to plead with him not to work so hard. And one day he decided to tell us off. And he said, the little energy that I have, I will exhaust it in the struggle until the last minute of my life. And that was a very profound statement of a man who had no other objectives but to liberate the people of the country, and therefore spend his time and energy on the vehicle that he had to do that at the African National Congress. The question is, do we still have such? Those who will say, I will put all my energies to the last point for my movement and the people of this country. I'm sure, being you who you are, you understand what I mean. I don't need to interpret that. Should I? No, because you know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'll come back to this issue because it's important for us as members of the ANC to understand ourselves and our movement correctly, not wrongly. Comrades, it indeed gives me great pleasure to address this provincial conference, which affords our movement the opportunity to renew itself and to respond better to the challenges faced by our people in this province. Let me hasten to remind you that the ANC is and has always been about improving the lives of all our people, especially the poor and marginalized. Thus, we should not forget that the ordinary people of KwaZulu-Natal are interested neither in our factional battles nor in who will assume leadership positions in this conference. That is not their concern. They are not interested in who can argue better or who can render revolutionary slogans the most. That is not their concern. Perhaps who can even toy better than others. That is not their concern. As Amilcar Cabral said, and I quote, always bear in mind that the people are not fighting for ideas, for the things in anyone's head. They are fighting to win material benefits, to live better and in peace, to see their lives go forward, to guarantee the future of their children. Unquote. Amilcar Cabral was one of the greatest leaders of Guinea-Bissau, who said a lot of things. But he died. Guinea-Bissau is one of the most troubled countries today. Why? Because that Amilcar Cabral as a leader, nothing else. So when he died, the revolution died. You can go there today. You can hardly say this was Amilcar Cabral country. The issue, once again, is the organization that counts, not the individual. No matter how bright the individual can be, if the organization is not there, forget about it. If I believe I'm a powerful leader, nobody else is as powerful as I am, I've missed the point. But if I believe that I belong to the most powerful organization called the African National Congress, I've won the battle and I've won the war. Because at the end, it is the ANC. And I argued one time with somebody who said the country comes first. And I said, much as I understand that, I think my organization, the ANC, comes first. Because those people, if they are not part of the ANC and there was no ANC, they could be misled, they could be under a yoke of oppression forever. You need a conscious organization with clarity to take the people to a destination, not just the people. The people without a revolutionary organization, they can be in trouble, like many who have been in trouble. It is the organization. It is a collective leadership. It is the united leadership, not divided. Divisions says something about people, about organizations. It's just a pity because as many as we are, we can't sit down in a political class to understand the nitty-gritties of politics, which at times are necessary to appreciate even the cultures and traditions of the ANC. I'm talking about the people. The people. The people are not worried about whatever. They are worried on specific things, as Cabral says. Therefore, their only interest, the people, is in whether or not the ANC that will emerge out of this conference is capable of fulfilling their legitimate expectations of a better life. Simple, straightforward. These are the people. That's what they're expecting. Whether I think I'm better than Mkhize or I'm better than Togo is not their concern. They are concerned, will this organization of ours emerge as an organization to fulfill our desires as a people? That's why you need a leadership that is clear, that can interpret what is this that the people are talking about. The people of KwaZulu-Natal are looking to this conference for answers on how service delivery can be accelerated so that they can all have water, electricity, housing, and decent sanitation. They're expecting you to spend the night and say, we didn't sleep because we are solving these problems. Not so. If you said to them, Asilalang, I've been solving a problem about abakhuluma ngawo. Siyazwana? Ngoba phela kade ngizoba nje hey asilalanga bekwenze njani hey kusho ukuthi asolve wonke ama problems mos makunjalo hayi ingi problem le ebi solve serious Conferences are organized in the main as a period on which you take stock of what you have been doing, how far we have come with fulfilling the programs and implementing decisions, where there have been shortcomings, where we have succeeded, learn from that, and proceed. Of course, if it's a conference like this one, has to say, once we have made that analysis, well, that's why we should be starting. Make that analysis. Once then we say, we know where there were shortcomings, what is it that we think we need to do, you then come back and look at the leadership. Who can implement this program or these programs? Who? That's a question you ask. Because you know us. You know our strengths and weaknesses. That's when then you can say, okay, I nominate so and so. Because we ask ukuthi umnomitelani. Hayi nina nimnominator kusasele unyaka. Kusasele unyaka niyofika lapho. Sesimnominatile. Not because of the program, because of something else. I don't want to unpack it. In our deliberations during the course of this conference, we must be preoccupied with these important policy questions, because being a member of the ANC means you owe people answers. In other words, if you come to a conference like this, you should come out better empowered to answer the questions that people have in mind. We dare not alter. We dare not falter in this regard, because the ANC, as a liberation movement, is the only true hope for our people. And that is a truth statement that we'll never find anywhere again. Because the ANC is different from other political organizations. It's not a political party, Tambo. Maybe we call ourselves a party for the convenience of the Constitution. We are a movement. We are an organization of the people. We are different. And therefore, people expect that this organization should have members who have their answers on the challenges they're faced with. Because, comrades, the ANC has, since its formation, experienced many challenges of different natures and varied degrees, but the consistent feature it always displays is its ability to come out of these difficulties alive, at times more stronger. And the ANC learns from the challenges. And the ANC is also capable of adapting to new conditions. No challenge has ever been too great to the extent that it would spell the end of the ANC, despite the well-meaning premonition at times from some within our ranks. No challenge has ever been too great to the extent that it would spell the end of the ANC, despite the well-meaning premonitions at times from some within our ranks. The ANC, as a living organism, provides irrefutable proof of Walter Sisulu's thesis that, and I quote, "It is a law of life that problems arise when conditions are there for their solutions," unquote. I'm saying all of this to make the point that challenges are not new to the ANC, no matter what type of challenges. They are not new. ANC has gone through all the challenges you can think of. However, it is important to trace and understand the common factor in all the generations of ANC leaders which made our movement to survive through all the adversities it encountered along the way. It is undisputable that unity and discipline combined constitute the cornerstone on which our movement was founded and sustained for more than 103 years. It is unity and discipline which made us overcome the enemy in the past, and which is all the more necessary now when confronted with a hidden enemy whose only aim is to perpetually keep our people in conditions of underdevelopment, poverty, and inequality. We need to journey knowing all of this, because it's important for us to know. The enemy will never disappear. The enemy will always be there. At times is invisible. At times it is visible. But it is always there. Because, unfortunately, we live in a class-divided society. No matter how you call it. You could call it any name. As we call it here, very cleverly. There is a gap between the poor and the rich. We are afraid to call the class. Of course, it's not our business to talk about class. So we say the poor and the rich, or the rich and the poor. Who is poor? Old politicians used to describe them. We now not, because we are very modern. Modern. So it's very vague, very woolly. The poor, who are you talking about? The rich, who are you talking about? We don't talk about it. All I'm saying, in other words, the contradictions are there, will always be there, whether you like it or not. At times they can just go down the hill, and at times they could be climbing across the mountain. They go down and go higher. And it depends where we are standing to see it and realize it. That's why even those who will be together at a given time, they will differ and take different directions, determined by the material conditions. We need to jealously guard the unity of the ANC and not do anything to compromise it. We must do things believing that we are doing right things, and yet we do not appreciate that we are actually undermining the unity of the African National Congress. I must do things because I know Kabazela has been within the struggle. I think whatever he does is correct. And in order to please him, not the organization, do something to undermine the unity of the ANC. The African National Congress is the hope of the people of South Africa. That's why when there is trouble in the ANC, they get worried. They don't get worried if there's trouble in any other little small party. It's not their business. There's nothing else like the ANC that will bring prosperity in South Africa. Nothing. No matter, even if you call some parties, I normally forget them because I don't know them. They are so small that I forget them. We must be outstanding adherents of principles of democratic centralism. We must allow the views of the majority and decisions of higher structures to prevail at all times. Our actions must continue to prove to all our people that the ANC places a lot of value on discipline and that it is the epitome of democracy. But comrades, we can't overstretch democracy. Izonqamuka impela njengesihlingi somfana eshaya inyoni ehlathini. Sinqamuke simshaya isifuba isihlingi. Democracy must be stretched to its correct limits, not beyond. At times, people swear at others under the name of democracy. Okanye bamhlebe in the name of democracy. Lo comrade lakalunganga. Uyayibona le ndaba? In the name of democracy. Khona omnye comrade sathi sina kwelinye izwe. Sasina ejele futhi. Wenza mistake unginikeza into engayishongo ejele sibanga ipolitiki. Uyangibona ukuthi ngisebenza kanjani? Wangibiza i-reactionary wena ejele. Hawu. Nanku umhlola ngizange nje ngimbize. Wayibizwa omunye umuntu. Ukuthi ama views am did not coincide nama views akhe mhlambe wasecabanga ukuthi yimlo engithi reactionary ngithi mina hey khohlwa leyo nto. Sempini la. Siphethe ibham la. Sibhekene nesitha. Don't start into ezincane zokuphikisana. Phakathi sasinesikhathi eRobben Island. Besixoxa intingi kuzokushona ilanga, kuze kuse ngakusasa kuphinde kuse futhi kuphinde kuse. Because there were time, ngithi besingenzi lutho. So sinesikhathi. Singaxoxa ngento uzuthi labantu bangenwe yini. Ngesinye isikhathi sake saxoxa kwaphela inyanga. Kwaphela inyanga impela sitshenwa ama-comrade aphuma e-PE ukuthi isipoki bake basibona ngamehlo. Saze sathathwa isithombe. Amathamba ayibonakala impela elokuzeni ephepheni sithi ayikho ke lento. Sayixoxa. Kanti ingcono kwaleyo. Saxoxa enye kwacishe kwaphela unyaka. Impela bethi makukhona ingane ivala amadlebe. Makukhona ingane la. Bethi kukhona intombazane ayithengisa umzimba. Manje kwase kusho ukuthi lo mzimba othengiswa usukhathele ukuthengiswa wayikhuluma. Wakhuluma impela. Bewulingisa nokuthi wawukhuluma uthini. Hey sithi ngeke bafowethu. Sahlala. Kwacishe kwaphela unyaka bethi athi umuntu ngahamba ngaye Livingstone esibhedlela. Impela ngafika abantu begcwele kufuna intombazane ingenwe la iadmitiwe. Yebo na ngemva kwesikhathi kwathiwa idlulisiwe transfer eTinarha. Abanye abanemoto babheka eTinarha. Hey. Sithi ayikho phela lento. Ayisoze ibe khona impossible. Kwakuhlala ama scientists lapha. Kutshena kahle but that scientifically cannot happen. You know? We went on and on. You know what we discovered? That day was April 1st. April 1st. Somebody misled people, even leaders. Bacabanga ukuthi inyani. And abazange bayibona. Mase ukhona wayibona. Hayi safika kuthi sisuziwela. Ngikutshela ukuthi how much time we had, but we solved the problem. Abantu babezofa bafike na lenga kuThixo bathi thina sezwe into enje. I'm just saying you need time to deal with matters properly. Because if you don't, if fana nokuthi uma uyi-politician, uyifunde kancane politics. Abantu bayazi ngaphe kwakho bazokufaka ehlathini. Zongena ehlathini uphuma uhlatshwa ameva yonke indawo. Ngena nawe. Ngoba awuyihluphi ngepolitiki. Khona abanye abantu abakhuluma isingisi kakhulu bacabanga ukuthi isingisi ipolitiki. Anjalo lonto. Akusona isingisi. Siyasijabule ukuthi ngoba sayifunda ngeSizulu. Isingisi sasifunda kamva. NgeSizulu sikutshena nje ukuthi yini le. Uyayibona lento ngeSizulu not ngesingisi. Ngoba ngesingisikhathi uma unamahloni uyavuma nje ungezwanga ukuthi bathini. Uthi yes. Ngoba usaba ukuthi kodwa akasazi isingisi lo. Comrades, this conference takes place just a month after we concluded our 4th National General Council in Midrand, Gauteng. Indeed, this important gathering in the life of our movement was a resounding success, much to the disappointment of our detractors and prophets of doom. Delegates to the NGC did not sing divisive songs or make divisive signals. They didn't. If they who did so, they were stopped immediately. On the contrary, They were thoroughly focused on the task of the gathering, which is to review our policies as well as our methods of implementation. That's what conferences are supposed to do. The NGC reaffirmed the centrality of the ANC branches in our morally superior agenda to transform the South African society. Branches are the basic units of the organization, and they constitute the primary vehicle through which the ANC mobilizes and organizes people behind its progressive agenda. The importance of branches is aptly captured in the ANC constitution, which states that, and I quote our constitution, "The branch shall be the place where members exercise their basic democratic rights to discuss and formulate policy," unquote. That's why the song, Amanda Semasebe. Perhaps let me explain this a little bit, because at times we don't appreciate it. This conference is a conference of the branches of the ANC in KZN, this conference. It's not the conference of leaders. The National Conference of the ANC is a conference of the branches, not of the leaders nationally. I tried to make this point in the NGC. Branches of the ANC, if you take the province, as we are here, as you are meeting here, representing your branches, you take decisions that the PEC cannot take. Equally, the National Conference take decisions that the NEC cannot take. It is only in the National Conference of the ANC where the document called the Constitution of the ANC is discussed and can be changed. And those who would have gone to ANC conferences will recall is among the first item to be discussed, because it must guide the conference as it takes these decisions. Only that conference can discuss the Constitution and take decisions. The branches, not the National Executive Committee. Only that conference can elect a president, deputy president, national chairperson, TG, Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General. No other gathering of the ANC can elect those people except the branches of the ANC at the National Conference, as well as the National Executive Committee. Because we shouldn't theorize about the strength of the branches. We must understand what it actually means. Nowhere else. The NEC, no matter how it feels about sections of the Constitution, it cannot change it. it will have to organize what we call in the ANC policy conference to look at the policy, because it cannot change the policy that was taken in the national conference by the branches, and make recommendations to the branches at the national level. That's what we can do. But we all tend to believe that, the National Executive Committee is very powerful. We think, I want to tell you the task of the leadership, because I want to come to the task of the PEC. Once the branches take those decisions, they take those decisions at a national level, they then delegate their authority to those who have been elected to lead, to implement their decisions, the branches. So what the NEC does in between the conferences of the ANC takes decisions on behalf of the branches. It's in the Constitution. They therefore work out tactics and strategies to implement those policies. It's a job of the leadership. But they can't change policy. They can't, for an example, one day and say, sometime to Secretary General, siyamkhipha manje. They will have to wait until the next conference. Unless whoever is in the NEC or officials has done something that violates the constitution of the ANC then is empowered to take a decision. And that decision will be a decision to be finalized at the end. I'm just telling you the strength of the branches. Therefore, the branches here take the last decision of the province and then delegate the power to implement those decisions to the provincial executive committee. That's the reason why, if you talk about building the organization, it is a branch that you must build, that must be strong, because that's where the authority lies. Now, we do it the other way around. We become very clever. We tell the branches what to do, what not to do. Of course, if... Of course, if you go to the branches, finding one branch sitting there on its own, one sitting there, they're almost like sitting targets. But in reality, those are the people who must be strengthened. They must actually be capacitated so that they can take proper decisions in a conference of this nature. That's why the process is the branch must meet and appoint those who will represent them here. And they must not just appoint somebody who's going to come here and just look as people talk. No. Somebody who knows how the branch thinks, who's going to put those views here and represent the branch. Very crucial. At times, members of the branch, they can see that Zuma is messing up there. They don't know they have a right to say, we are Moshalabab. They can even ask for a special conference to deal with that. Instead of saying, niyasmosha nina, sifuna inhlangano sokukhuluma lo daba lwenu. Khulunywa abanikazi babo. Huh? I was telling comrades, and I want to say it here, in these committees that I'm talking about. I said it in the National Executive Committee. I also said it in the PEC here. Because ngezwa mahemhem ukuthi hawu use liability to Zuma uyaphuma manje ungabusamnaka. Ngathi hey abangazi kahle. You know? You know, I'm going back to my branch and exercise that right lapha ebranchini. Nizawuhlangana nami ngihlezi lapha phakathi nendawo. Behlezi lapha ikhulu. Chendampa. Ngalelo langa uyobona ukuthi akayona liability lo muntu. Because ngi-ANC, I belong to a branch and I understand the task of the branch. And I'm going to come here as a branch member, as a delegate. Sawuhlangana phezulu. Mabe bheke eceleni ngizobe ngikhona ngihlezi la. Futhi ngofuna indawo ngihlale eduze. Hlale eduze impela ukuthi ngibabone kahle. Phakamise ngithi chair, point of order. Because it's a wrong thinking that a member of the ANC can be a liability. I didn't join the ANC as a president. I joined the ANC as an ordinary cadre. I became a volunteer. You couldn't refer to me then as a liability. Not at all. There is no member who is a liability. Is the wrong thinking, is lack of political understanding. Also, to think that if somebody has been holding a position, if he leaves the position, then forget about him. Why? Because I will be a member of the ANC until I die, and I will be active in the ANC until I die. So I will be there all the time, as I've been there. It's not a big deal. I'm not like these ones who go out and start criticizing the ANC. Because I understand the importance of each and every member of the ANC. It's very important, whether you're in the branch or wherever, that if I'm deployed to any position, it is the ANC, because in its wisdom, it felt we should deploy this one and that one and that one. We're not made to be better or to be above others. It is our responsibility only. I want you to be clear, because at times, part of the reason we end up with wrong practices, as I was saying in the NGC, is because I think our understanding is not sufficient. The fact that I can be a member of another member, or I can own members, mean who? It is precisely because of this understanding that the ANC directed that we pay sufficient attention to branches to ensure that they have at all times the necessary capacity to drive the policies of our movement and guide the implementation thereof. This is indeed consistent with the fact that the ANC is the strategic center of power. Now, if you don't understand what I just said, you will never understand that the ANC is a strategic center of power. That's why we need to give the branches the tasks that are there already. We have defined them, so that they, instead of us theorizing that we are a leader of the society, they concretely lead the society in the communities where they are, the branches. Strengthen the branches, not weaken them. Don't make the branch small, 100 and something, so that you can manipulate. No. And even coin a word for it, gatekeeping, and actually use it as if it is a nice thing to do, and prevent so many citizens who want to become members of the ANC because you want to manipulate something within the ANC. Instead of the ANC growing, then it goes down. And we are not working for the interests of the ANC. Ubano ikomanisi la ngikhumbuze nge phrase. Ubani? Phakamsandla ikomanisi? Happy? Oh, you are aware? Uthini uma usetunga about blossoming of flowers or ideas? Uthini, now just remind me. Uthini uma usetunga? Allow 1,000 flowers to blossom. I have for my communists. Thank you. Thank you, communists. And now I was just trying to remember the phrase because that's what Mao Zedong says. Allow the 1,000 flowers to blossom. In other words, allow a free and democratic discussion to take place. Let us have the ideas of comrades. That's what it says. Don't suppress comrades. The more, the merrier. That Communist Party, in their members, is a million. But in a discipline, that is why this system called capitalism is succeeding in China, because it is under discipline. Good discipline, you can't do your things. If you are corrupt there, we are disappearish. Pambana nemvula. Yeah, back told to corrupt. Ham yolu samatata. That's why discipline it. Because benza yonke into to develop their country. Benza yonke into to develop. And ungabathu kushonele abanandaba nawe. Angizukuyishenga into ngoba ukhona mali lapha ngutshena. Bangaze bathi hey ake nimela sinitshene uZuma uthe. When they celebrated 70 years, they made a very telling statement that they've developed their power, they've got the capacity. Nobody can touch them. But this they've done in defense of the citizens of the world, not for war. That is China saying. Their strength is to be used to protect the citizens of the country. Nobody can start a war, as they used to do before, and hope that he will get away with it. The China will come to defend, not just China, the globe. They are developing economy so that it can reach even the poor. Asiyeke leyo ke bengifuna nje leya phrase emakomanisini ukuthi wathini uma usethu ngizonibuza ngomunye futhi. Comrades, let me once again remind you that we are now in the second phase of our long-drawn transition from apartheid to capitalism to the national democratic society. The task of the National Democratic Revolution at this stage are such that they require a vibrant and dynamic ANC that is capable of correctly reading the balance of forces and taking appropriate action. It is important to note that branches are at the center of this vibrancy and dynamism. The branches, not the leaders. I'm not saying here the leaders are at the center. No, the branches are at the center of this vibrant dynamism. Because the leaders they are supposed to be part of the branches in any way. We're not supposed to be a leader and then not belong to a branch. So we are part of it. This is because the design of our organizational structure places the power to decide our movement's direction in branches. As a result, no leadership structure, no matter how active it is, can make any meaningful revolutionary advances without a solid base of politically conscious members. In short, the pulse of the ANC can only be felt in its branches. Once it is felt in the leaders, you must know you are feeling a wrong vein in the body, not the correct one. The vibrancy, because the leaders can do many things. The branches, because if you take a decision, as the ANC often does, it must be supported by the body of the organization. And it must understand it, it must have been part of its process, it must implement it. The NGC reaffirmed the need for active branches which function properly and in line with the constitution of the ANC. We ought to ensure that our branches rededicate themselves to be constantly engaged in campaigns and struggles of the ordinary people, thus becoming true vanguards of the communities in which they are found. It is a mistake that there are delivery protests and the ANC is not there. It's a big mistake. In other words, on the issue of service delivery, you are being led by the masses. We are not there. It's a mistake. Because if we were part of it, those protests would be different qualitatively. And they will indeed talk to the issues. But we think, don't be away from the masses. You must be wherever the masses are. Those who know politics say, don't be too much ahead of the people, because you'll be cut off. Don't tail behind. On this one, we are tailing behind. Why, as members of the ANC in the wards where we are, we don't know that people are discussing the protest and therefore discussing the delivery? Because we are not with them. That is the only conclusion. We must be with them. I'm not sure. Because siyavumelana kodwa singabi lapho kumamasisi. Thola ukuthi omunye umuntu uzabuya kwenye inkonfe engakaze ahlale nasebranchini. Why akhona ngoba sefuna ukuthi ayokhetha ukuthi eze enkonfeni. By their work and unbreakable connection with the communities, ANC branches must make it virtually impossible for any center, for any counter-revolutionary grouping to mobilize our people and lead them astray. Who can answer this question? Are there any people who are leading our people astray currently in South Africa? Why are they doing so? It's because we are not there. Let me repeat this paragraph. By their work and unbreakable connection with communities, ANC branches must make it virtually impossible for any counter-revolutionary grouping to mobilize our people and lead them astray. That talks to our current situation in the country. Akusizi lokhu sithi si-strong thina, hayi singabanaki. We must be there, ebantwini. Very crucial. These are matters we need to be discussing in such a conference. How to link with the masses perpetually. What are the tactics? What are the approaches? Manithi kasilalanga kusho ukuthi nifike ne-answer kulezo. Senivuka ne-answer. Asilalanga phela kuze kwasasibhekile. Siphethe i-answer ukuthi how to link with the masses. Then ke mina ngizogiya lapha. Ngoshibonga phela. Ngithi ngadla mina kababa. Ngasaqali. It was with this latter sentiment in mind that the NGC agreed that our branch audit processes should not be limited merely to numbers, but should also include some assessment of the life of the organization, especially relating to political programs. Every branch must have a political program. Every branch must have a political program that involves ordinary people. Now, you can't have a branch that has no political discussion. Ikhona nje. Ihlangana kuphela makuthiwa ziyenkomfeni kuzoba khona iBGM. Bese liyahlangana. Sikhumbule konje comrade usekhona ukade ngakugcina how come? Hlangana ebranchini eyodwa kodwa. Because you don't meet to discuss politics. There is what you should do, general members meeting, which is discussing politics, which you are informing the branch. You can even combine branches because we are not discussing constitutional matters. We are discussing politics and have a general political discussion in order to empower the members of the branch. Very crucial. Comrades, the ANC is engaged in a revolution to create a South Africa, a key defining feature of which will be non-racialism. Our responsibility to lead by example means that the membership of ANC branches must always be a true reflection of the demographics of their wards. In a word, where all national groups are found, membership of the ANC branch cannot be seen as an exclusive preserve of one group or another. People from all national groups should feel at home in the ANC. ANC branches must be the epitome of non-racialism. That's what the branch should be. Let me say something about leadership contestation. I said this at the beginning. You know, we might be in a position to erode the very essence of the values of the ANC without realizing. In democracy, contestation is the practice of the day. In fact, there is nothing wrong if I know a comrade, I've worked with him, I know his strengths, to think that this comrade can provide a very good leadership and therefore nominate that comrade. This is absolutely nothing wrong. I think what has become wrong is the manner in which we do that. We close our eyes to realities of the ANC programs and functionings and everything and open our eyes somewhere else. It is in the main guided by economic principles, economic interests rather. That's not the ANC. The ANC doesn't say so. ANC is not a business organization. ANC is a democratic organization. And therefore, we are doing something wrong. And I said as much in the NG, so I don't want to repeat it here. Because I think the comrades still remember. Or those who came back reported to the branches some of the important things that were said in that conference. Critical, absolutely. Now, precisely because the interest is no longer the organization in the main, some might have the interest of the organization, but they get swamped into these other interests. And therefore, comrades fight as if there is no tomorrow in the organization. Or comrades in positions take a particular stance in working or in isolating others who are not closer to them. The ANC wins elections, it then identifies many people to go to government. Once we are in government, we think we are in another organization. We operate differently. I take it that these are matters that need a conference like this one to deal with the realities of the issues. Is the organization still healthy? Are we doing things right? And it is here where you need to be honest. And if Zuma is doing anything wrong, to say, Comrade Zuma, we gave you the responsibility. We believe you are not carrying it out properly. Or we believe you are abusing the authority we gave you. Don't do this, please. And if we talk about it here, there will be less gossiping in the passages and the corridors. And the ANC will be healthy, will live and lead. But if it is not healthy, then we could be assisting wrong people in the manner in which we do things. In other words, the contestation must be comradely, must be user-friendly. And also, whoever wins, our principle is that once the majority has elected a comrade, it is as good as we who disagree have elected him or her. That's how the ANC is. Because it presupposes that you can't say you can have just one nomination, other people don't have a view. We have views, but the majority of the views, if it moves the other direction, then you must accept it. Must accept it. You mustn't say, namhlanje winile kusasa, uqala ukusebenza manje kusakha isitulo khona manje. You are actually suffering isikolo se-ANC, unfortunately. Bandla. How? By that time, the ANC is weak. Because when we put you, we want you to be strong. Funa ukuthi umuntu abe strong angasho ukuthi hey ngizofika ngithina amanzi aphehlwe ekhaya. Sengeke ngizwe basho njalo abantu bakhuluma isiZulu. Amanzi aphehlwe ekhaya kubi. Awusakwazi ukulida ngalonkathi. Mina ke noma ngawaphehla ekhaya nginandaba wangena amanzi kimi. Ngabethela mina. Ngabethela political. Ngi-understanda kahle ngisho umuntu esebheda ngibuya uyabheda lo. Ngimiyeke. Ngisho semosha ngithi uyamosha. Ngazi kahle akekho ufika kimina ngelinye ilanga ngikhohlisa. Ngazi kahle mthi inkulu into engayijoinela la ngijoinela ngumuntu. Futhi uma ubheda ngisho ngabe sihamba sonke ngiyakuyeka nje uhambe indlela yakho. Mina ngibambele kakhongolosi. Angisoze ngiphume endleleni. Angisoze ngiphume endleleni. Bambe kakhongolosi. Ingakho ngingaduki. Njalo nje kusa indibheke phambili. Ngeke ubone ukuthi kuthiwa sengigekela singagekela. Ngeke kuze kuyovalwa. Ngisho ngathi ngishonise ejele ngizolokhu ngithenje. Ngisho noma ngathi ngicorrupt uqamba amanga hayi ngiyahamba nje. Uyoshaya kunguluze konke la. Akukho kuyongena ngisho umkhonto uyopheceka. Ngoba nginenyama yalashwa ukhongolosi. Comrades, therefore let us do contestations properly. Let us not abuse it. Part of the reason it has been abused is because the manner in which the contestation is done is abused. It's no longer comrade, it's no longer democratic, it's no longer on the ANC culture. Slates, factions, yo. Kazi no tin man figure phambili. Man figure ngoba wathu madiba uyofika atjoin ibranch uma engekho uyoyiform. So noma ikade ngekho ngaphambi kwakhe ikhona manje. So fika mhlambi National Executive Committee hlezi lapha. Namakhehla amadala. Babuza ukuthi wawenzani. Ube sathe ukuthi shona lesihogweni. Ngoba uthadukisa abantu benkosi. Comrades, let me just, as I sit down, I know you have got a lot of work to do. I was told we are going to vote. Serious. I think it's important, as I deal with these issues, to say, if we are a comrade who does not worry to start the politics of the ANC, of South Africa, and by mistake, you grow through the ranks, but with lesser political maturity, you become a problem. A very big problem. And the political material conditions will expose you. There are comrades who have been in the leadership of the ANC. Some of them were in the leadership of government, being DGs, etc. They are now out of government. They are the biggest critics of the government and the ANC. I read something in the newspaper where one comrade, who has been respected for a long time, saying that the alliance is dead. People are exposing themselves that they are politically bankrupt. They are now sitting at home. They are now sitting at home, lonely. They left the ANC on their own. They were not chased out. They thought it is nice out there. It's cold out there. They now are beginning to throw stones in the ANC. Criticize the party, criticize COSATU, criticize the ANC. And these comrades were part of the leadership. Some of them were Secretary General. Some of them. You can only say if the ANC is weak, they weakened it when they were the leadership of the ANC. Why now they have wisdom and everything when they are sitting out there? When they were here, we did not see that wisdom. Others are pastors. They must go and preach in the church and leave politics. If abazazi politics. We are not going to keep quiet forever. Because if we are out of the ANC, for whatever reasons, keep quiet. In fact, the unwritten rule is that when you are out, don't criticize those who come after you. Because those who come after you should not criticize who you were in front. It's a simple ABCD kind of politics. And these people who are leaders don't understand it. Alliance is dead. Yes. They must sit and keep quiet. Because we don't want to talk about them. Because to us, they're important, they were given important positions. How they perform is not our story. Now, why do you stand up and say, ANC, lokuya, and you think you are a cadre? Why fund up the politics? Abanye baba nkosi yami ngaba fundisa politics. How kushuthi ngabhimba? How? I thought we should make this point because let us not, those comrades. Some are doing it by the way, in a very clever way. Some are running institutions. They are making their institutions to be the launching pad of the missiles against the ANC. And we are seeing it. We are keeping quiet because we are disciplined. Don't provoke us too far. Don't. We have a job to do to achieve prosperity in South Africa as an ANC. So don't. Please. There's no one who's bigger than the ANC. No one. Some of these comrades still call themselves ANC. Why are they not in the branches to raise those issues? Or use other means to address those issues with the leadership? Why go to the media? Why? And start criticizing the ANC, COSATU, the party. They are cowards to come here and argue their point of view. They're just causing an unnecessary irritation. And we may not tolerate this for too long. I thought I should make this point because it is important to do so. Very important. Comrades, you have a lot of work to do. I take it that we haven't started the discussions and we are finishing tomorrow. Not so. Let me not hold you too much. But I thought I should say what I've said to help you move faster on the program that is coming. You can move faster. You can discuss properly and agree. Not so. Whatever the outcomes, that must be the end of tensions in this province. Because it will say something I don't believe, that you are politically immatured. You don't understand the ANC policies and politics and democracy. That once a decision is taken, even if you did not agree with it, is your decision. And we can work together. We are going to deal with tendencies and tendencies. The time is coming. I think the NGC took a good resolutions. And therefore, comrades, I wish you a successful provincial conference. Conference of KwaZulu-Natal. Amandla! Awethu! Oh, indlela esihambayo. Oh, indlela Oh, indlela esihambayo. Oh, indlela Washu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom. Washu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom. Oh, lendlela esihambayo. Oh, lendlela esihambayo. Oh, lendlela esihambayo. Oh, lendlela esihambayo. Washu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom day. Washu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom day. Lendlela esihambayo. Lendlela esihambayo. Lendlela esihambayo. Lendlela esihambayo. Washu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom. Washu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom. Thank you very much.
I'm sure comrades will agree that it is